So if we look at this section, our task here is to create realistic type objectives. So to wrap the whole plan up, we have to make sure that we have marketing objectives and KPIs. So first we have to determine what our goal is, right? Because that's where it all starts. So if our goal is to sell 1,000 units to 1,000 consumers by the end of 2020 at $20 a piece, then we need to say that. Or if our goal is to increase our website views by 5% in the next 3 months and convert an extra 2% on sales, we need to say that too. So when we make our goals, remember the key element here is to keep them, we use the term SMART, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So they have to be realistic goals. You can't go from 0 to 100 overnight. That really happens. You can't make something out of something that doesn't exist. That really happens. So the first step of to create your KPIs is to set up a goal. Now, once you set up the goal, you have to plan the objectives underneath that goal. And that's the other component here. So when you talk about objectives, you have to really put some executionable type things there, the tactics that tie into the goals, from that strategy that you're building. So what are the tactics you're going to use? 1, 2, 3, 4 things we need to do in order to complete the goal. I'll give you an example. If we wanted to make chocolate chip cookies, our goal could be, I want to make a batch of chocolate chip cookies before 6 o'clock tonight, right? That's an example of a goal, smart, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, right? So now my objective is, number 1, make sure I have all the ingredients for the cookie, whatever that recipe is for the chocolate chip cookies. Number 2, make sure that I have enough time to prepare the ingredients before 6 o'clock when the cookies are due. Number 3, prepare the ingredients and make the cookies by 4 o'clock if we have to put them in the oven, by 4:30 to be done in an hour by 5:30, right? So you see, we're making those objectives, we're putting in those executionable steps to complete the main goal. Now, the KPIs tie into that, the metrics tie into that, because now we have to create, how do we measure things? Remember that marketing is all about doing something and measuring the results. The only way you know if you've done something, good or not, and there's no right or wrong here in marketing. There's just something that works and something that doesn't work. So the only way you know that it works is that you look at results. Obviously, if you generate sales, you put money in your pocket, it works. Then you have to look at the spend versus return on investment. You have to analyze that. But the only way you can analyze that is by looking at the data, looking at the metrics. So you have to establish strong metrics and strong KPIs that tie into your objective and goal. And that's sort of how you pull that in together. And remember that everything you do has to be based on very specific time and frameworks that has to be real. You have to be able to measure it. And you can't go from one point to another point without some middle ground there. So I've been in scenarios where a leader of a division might say to me, hey, I want to increase sales 35% this year in 2020, which will be a great target. But for the last 5 years, we've only increased sales 5 to 8%, right, consecutively, which is phenomenal. That's great growth. So what's going to change this year in 2020 that's going to allow us to grow 35%? That's really unrealistic. And the answer that you get is because we need that. We need to grow 5% because we're making a big investment, or we have this plan, we have that plan, which is all good. But you can't expect your numbers that are increasing, that are healthy, growing 5, 6, 7%, to go from 5, 6, 7% to 35%. That's very unrealistic. And there could be some, incredible things that happen that might result in that. Like maybe you have a new brand or a new product, and the forecast for that seems to be through the roof, or maybe you're going to buy a company or open up a new geography or something along those lines to dramatically change what happened in prior year. But you have to be realistic about that. You have to really consider all those things. So that last part of the marketing plan is making sure that you create those goals, build the objectives and the tactics that tie into the strategy. And then lastly, making sure that you have those KPIs, those key performance indicators that are based on the metrics that you decide for your company to drive your growth, to drive your results. And once you do that, you have a good foundation to understand whether or not you're doing good or you're not doing so good, if you're making money or you're not making some money. Okay, so that's a big part of the marketing plan, and that really sums up this Web 2.0 marketing plan.